You open your banking app. A number glows on the screen. You trust it completely, without a second thought. But that number is backed by nothing you can touch. No metal, no weight, no shine. So why, for thousands of years, did every ruler on Earth insist on filling vaults with something as impractical as gold? But the real answer is far stranger. The story doesn't start with economics. It starts with your ancestors, and a problem far older than kings, the problem of trust between strangers. For most of human history, you lived in a group of maybe 50 people. Everyone knew everyone. Reputation did the work that gold would later do. You didn't need a coin to prove you were trustworthy. Your neighbors already knew. Then something changed. Groups grew. Strangers met strangers, and a small favor, a debt, a promise, could no longer be tracked in memory alone. Anthropologist David Graeber studied this shift closely. He argued that long before coins existed, early civilizations ran on obligation, not cash. Temples in ancient Mesopotamia kept records of grain owed, labor owed, debts owed between people who might never meet again. Trust was a ledger, not a metal. So why gold? Gold solved a problem those ledgers couldn't. A ledger only works if two people trust the same authority to remember it correctly. A ruler, a temple, a government. But what happens when you don't trust that authority? What happens when the ruler is the very person you're trading with? Gold doesn't ask you to trust anyone. It doesn't rot, it doesn't rust. It doesn't decay in a granary or vanish in a fire. A pile of grain today is not a pile of grain in 5 years. A pile of gold is. That single property, permanence, turned a shiny metal into the most stable form of memory the ancient world had ever found. And permanence is exactly what power needs. A ruler could raise an army, build a temple, or survive a famine, only if the wealth stored today would still be wealth tomorrow. Historian Niall Ferguson traced this pattern across empires. Every stable state, from ancient Lydia to the Roman Empire, eventually turned to precious metal for the same reason. Not because gold was beautiful, because gold could not be argued with. Think about what a ruler actually needs to hold power. Soldiers who expect pay, priests who expect offerings, nobles who expect loyalty in exchange for wealth. Every one of those relationships depends on a promise being kept later, sometimes years later. Grain spoils, loyalty fades, paper burns. Gold just sits there, unbothered by time. There's a deeper layer here too, one that has nothing to do with economics at all. Primatologist Frans de Waal spent decades studying power inside primate groups, chimpanzees especially. He found that dominant males rarely held power through strength alone. They held it by controlling resources and distributing them strategically, rewarding allies, starving rivals. Sound familiar? A human ruler with a full treasury could do exactly the same thing, on a civilizational scale. Reward the general who won the war. Fund the temple that blessed his reign. Starve the province that questioned his legitimacy. Gold wasn't just currency, it was a lever for dominance. The same lever your primate ancestors used, just dressed in royal robes. This is why the first coins weren't really about trade at all. Early Lydian coins, some of the oldest in the world, were stamped with the faces of kings. Not because a king needed to advertise himself at the market, because a coin stamped with a ruler's image was a small, portable declaration. This wealth exists because I say it does. Every transaction using that coin quietly reinforced the ruler's authority, one purchase at a time. Every civilization eventually discovered this same trick. Egyptian pharaohs hoarded gold, not for luxury, but as proof that the gods favored their reign. Roman emperors debased their coins in secret when treasuries ran low, shaving the silver content down, hoping no one would notice the shine had dimmed along with the empire's strength. Chinese dynasties collapsed the moment their currency lost credibility, long before their armies ever did. Notice the pattern. It was never really about the metal. It was about what the metal proved: stability, permanence, the unspoken promise that a ruler's word and a ruler's power would still be worth something tomorrow. And when that promise broke, the gold couldn't save them. Empires that debased their coins in secret eventually got caught. Merchants weighed the metal in their palms. Citizens felt the difference before anyone announced it. Trust, once cracked, doesn't get repaired by more gold. It gets repaired by more honesty, which is precisely what a struggling ruler has the hardest time offering. Even the modern world couldn't escape this pattern completely. For most of the 20th century, governments still tied their currencies to gold, promising that every note in your pocket could be exchanged for something permanent sitting in a vault. Then in 1971, that promise ended. The paper stayed. The gold behind it quietly disappeared. And for a moment, the entire global economy ran on nothing but trust in institutions. The same trust your ancestors once placed in a chief, a temple, a king. It worked, mostly. But notice what still happens when that trust wavers. Whenever a currency loses loses credibility. Whenever a government prints too much or a leader's promises stop matching reality, people reach for something else. Gold again, land, anything that existed before the promise and will exist after it. This is the same instinct sitting inside you right now. You don't stack gold bars in your closet, but you still feel safer holding something tangible than trusting a number on a screen. You still respect people who back up their promises with something real, action, consistency, proof, over people who only offer words. That's not a quirk of modern psychology. That's the same ancient calculation your ancestors made every time they decided who deserved their trust. Every ruler in history understood something you already feel instinctively. Promises are cheap, permanence is expensive, and power has always belonged to whoever could prove theirs would last. So the next time you glance at your banking app, remember what that glowing number is quietly standing in for. Not gold anymore, but the same ancient promise gold once made, that what is owed to you today will still be worth something tomorrow.